The Mandalorian Chapter 21, titled The Pirate, was an absolute blast to watch. Some of the best overall action we've seen in the entire series. I do have some questions about the larger picture stuff and some criticisms of how the Moff Gideon storyline is being handled. I'll get to all that, but in general, I just had a big ol' smile on my face the entire runtime. Also, as you can see, we are not at home. Please excuse the hotel room decor and the fact that this video won't be quite as polished as normal ones because we are pressed for time as well. Obviously, with a title like The Pirate, the story centers around Gorian Shard's attempts to control Nevarro. His very cool-looking ship arrives, interrupting Greef Karga planning more construction to his growing town. Shard knows the planet is completely independent, without protection from the New Republic or Moff Gideon. As he opens fire on the city, Greef sends a message to Carson Teva, who he met back in Season 2. I really enjoyed seeing the New Republic base on Adelphi, not just because it means the return of Carson Teva, but more surprising was the appearance of a Lasat pilot with Steve Blum's voice. If you're unfamiliar, that is Zeb, a character from Star Wars Rebels. It was confirmed in the credits. I thought he looked great in live action, and I'm going to assume that means he will pop up again in the Ahsoka series. It's cool to see him in the New Republic in a flight suit and everything. He and Karsa discuss Karga's call for help, and Teva heads off to Coruscant to ask for backup in person. There we meet my new favorite sassy astromech droid, who is giving Tim Meadows a hard time in his role as Colonel Tuttle. And that droid is a hero, because Tuttle deserves a hard time. He's basically the face of the kind of thinking that makes the New Republic so frustrating at times. He is dismissive of Greef's message, turning it off without even listening to the whole thing, hemming and hawing about sending any help because Nevarro is not a member of the government. Look, I've never tried to reestablish a democracy after a dictatorship. I know it's not easy, and I understand the logic behind prioritizing the planets that are actually in the New Republic, but the whole reason planets like Nevarro don't trust in the New Republic is because they give them no cause to. Pirates attack, and the New Republic shrugs, and the Outer Rim is like, see, they don't care about us. But if the New Republic did send help, then Nevarro might rethink their position, and so might several other planets. But Carson Teva is the face of the side of the New Republic that's great. He has a desire to help because he can, and because he knows he'll be better off solving smaller problems before they become big problems. When he says that line, by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be too late, I can't help but think of Starkiller Base. I do think and hope at some point we're going to see the New Republic do something about Gideon or Thrawn or whoever we're building to, but they're going to repeat this cycle. When Leia points out the growing threat of the First Order years from now, she'll be labeled a warmonger. After the rebellion, I think the New Republic wanted peace so badly they buried their heads in the sand. I liked having Alaya Kane in that scene as well. I find it a little hard to believe she could have fried Pershing's brain and gotten away with it no problem, but whatever. She seems like a capable liar and spy, and again, the New Republic can see danger staring them in the face and smiling, and they just pretend it's not there. Without help from official sources, Teva seeks out the Mandalorian. I love that he found them thanks to R5. That moment where he says, "Someone in the covert used to serve in the rebellion with me," was a fun and intriguing pause where I was like, oh, who is it? And then R5 rolls out. I do wonder how Teva knew he was with the Mandalorians. Maybe R5 sent him a postcard? At any rate, Carson tells Din Greef is in trouble and figures he will do the right thing. I like that for the past few episodes, Din has just been where he wants to be. After the Mines of Mandalore, he's back with his covert, he's raising and training Grogu, he's not running around the galaxy doing favors for a bunch of random people. This time, someone asks him for a favor, and then Din has to convince the rest of the covert to join him, which he does by offering them all a home again. Not in the sewers, not on Dinosaur Planet, the plot of land Greef said he could have because Din has a history of running around the galaxy doing favors for a bunch of random people. Then Paz Visla stands up and you're like, oh, here we go. But even he agrees. I love his speech about sacrificing for a brighter future because that's what Mandalorians do. And he says, this is the way, and you're like, hell yeah! I talked last week about how sometimes that phrase makes my eyes roll because they're talking about leaving their helmets on or who gets to eat by the fire, but sometimes that phrase makes me pump my fist because they're talking about something real. This was absolutely one of those times. It gave me chills. One of the main lessons of Star Wars is about how you choose to use your talents and power. Do you have the Force? Will you be a Jedi or a Sith? Are you a Mandalorian? Will you use all your cool gadgets and armor and weapons to protect life or conquer it? The fact that it's a Visla joining sides with Din and Bocatan is great because of that family's history. Tar Visla was the first Mandalorian Jedi who created the Darksaber. We don't know much about him, but I assume he was a pretty cool guy. Visla took the weapon of his ancestor and used it for evil. Paz Visla has the potential to go either way, and I like that he is joining the side of light. For now, at least. The battle for Nevarro was all around awesome. Like I said earlier, just a blast to watch. It had everything. Dogfights, flying through canyons, quippy lines, finally that shot of all the Mandalorians dropping out of the gauntlet. It was great. Even the armorer joined in with her hammer. Gorian Shard and his pirates are destroyed, but the first mate, Vane, flees. I think we will see him again, reporting to Gideon. Carson Teva suspected the pirates were somehow linked to the Empire, and Vane could be that confirmation. For their help, Greef Karga rewards the Mandalorians with a big plot of land. The fact that their territory is marked by Bullock Canyon is a great way to honor Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Bocatan then meets with the armorer in the forge that once existed on Nevarro. I liked her speech about how it doesn't matter how ornate a forge is, it can serve its purpose no matter how it appears. And then she asks Bocatan to remove her helmet. I think she's admitting that a Mandalorian is a Mandalorian regardless of the specific rules they choose to follow, and then she says that publicly in front of the rest of the covert. She doesn't call Bocatan an apostate, she is labeled as an ally, and she's being sent to once again gather Mandalorians to retake Mandalore. I do like that we're getting some possible character growth for the armorer, but the moment felt a little flat for me because Bo has been kind of passive in all of this. She didn't really decide to start walking the way of the Mandalore, she just happened to fall into it, so she kept her helmet on. And now she didn't decide to take her helmet off, she was told to. I think we're seeing the armorer realize how honorable Bo-Katan is despite not really being a part of their covert. She still rescues foundlings, she's still a capable warrior, but I think that message would have been more clear if Bo had been among them, doing all those things without following the helmet rule. I'm glad to see the armorer opening up and being accepting of Mandalorians who don't adhere to her beliefs, but I think it could have been done more powerfully. And I don't really see the point of Bo-Katan hesitantly joining the covert for such a short amount of time. I'm excited to see Bo bringing more tribes together with the intent to reclaim Mandalore, but that also seems counterintuitive to Greef Karga saying, "You may not have a home world, but you do have a home." I found some of the writing here at the end to just feel a little inconsistent. And finally, we reach Carson Teva's scene investigating a derelict shuttle, which turns out to be a lost prison transport that once held Moff Gideon, and on board there is evidence that Mandalorians may have extracted him. I do think that's possible. Paz Visla mentioned Gideon should be executed for his crimes back in the Book of Boba Fett, but I think it's more likely they're being framed, or maybe Gideon has some soldiers with Beskar armor. He definitely has a history with Mandalore, so he may have taken quite a bit of Beskar in the Great Purge. This is an interesting development, but again, I felt a little frustrated that the Gideon stuff is happening off-screen. The Season 2 finale is fantastic, but I think upon future rewatches, it'll feel less impactful. Grogu going off with Luke is resolved in a different series. Bo-Katan's captured Imperial cruiser disappears off-screen. Gideon's capture is undone off-screen. That stuff doesn't bug me too much, because I think The Mandalorian is very much a water cooler kind of show. It's so much fun to watch and keep up with, and gives us those moments where we freak out over Cobb Vanth or Luke Skywalker or Keller and Beck, and I love that. But some elements of the final 3 scenes took me out of the story of the episode and made me question the story of the series. But at the end of the day, I like where things are headed, even if I don't love all of how we got there. I still really enjoyed this episode and the Mandalorian liberation of Nevarro. It's a fun series to watch, plain and simple. And we've still got 3 episodes to go this season that can potentially clear up some of my new questions. But that's all I've got to say about the pirate for now. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page for our video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.